Languages have their own DNA too. So
Oh, what do you mean by that? This is interesting.
it's a structure. Well, it might be a structure, a vocabulary, words. Well, there is a system that everything there is there for a reason, like our genes, right?
Welcome to 99 Humans. My name is Jeff Lakusta, curious coach and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, striving to understand how little things generate big impact.
And I'm Nadia Carta, tech executive and lifestyle coach with a mission to transform lives and corporations by kindling hearts to generate a zeal for life.
Each week, we investigate stories about the human side of leadership to re-energize your spirit and help you become a stronger leader.
Because the reality is that leadership is messy, goofy, challenging, but always human.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Let's dive in.
Milena, hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Or good afternoon. I'm in Paris.
Good afternoon. Right. Wait, you're in Paris?
Yes, I'm in Paris. So it's the evening. It's 5 p.m. and it's the end of the week for me. So
Oh,
we might be in a different mood because it's soon the weekend soon for me. Still a
that's
few.
amazing. Well, thank you for joining this on a Friday afternoon. I love Paris.
It's a pleasure, and Paris loves you too. Paris loves everyone who wants to come here. So it's nice.
It's fascinating. You know, I lived in Paris for 2 years and a half, and I always say it was the toughest 2 years of my life, but also the ones where I learned the most.
Oh, so you know the city very well. Yeah.
It was a really a dream. And look, I speak French. I'm in intermediate French, but somehow my French was never enough for
Really,
Parisian people.
really. Oh, I think it changed. It changed. I've been told that it's changing. So people speak English more and more. The young generation speak perfectly English or more than before, which is already great. And well, it depends on your experience. Some Parisians, some French people might be rude from time to time.
Well, I do hope we treasure French though, because it's a beautiful language.
Yes.
I wish for my daughters to learn it. We have a lot of French friends here in New York, and it's fascinating because I understand them and all of it. But then when my daughters try to say a few words, they say with such a strong English accent, and that
Accents
makes
are fine. If the pronunciation is fine, accents are fine too. It's not very important. If you can still communicate, it's the most important thing with languages, right?
that's beautiful. And you know a lot about languages. So before diving, let me ask you a question. What are you up right now in the world?
Yes, so I run a school. I run a language school, which was my dream as a student. I studied linguistics, and after my studies, I wanted to do more research, but it wasn't possible. I needed to work, so I've been given an opportunity in the advertising industry with an internship, and I stayed for a few years. So it was my main professional experience before I created, I founded the school.
Wow, wow. What is the school about? I'm intrigued.
Well, we work with with companies, international and French companies that are based in France, in Paris. But not only, we have also online classes, and we try to take in charge expatriates, so impatriates, we call them impatriates here in France, who come here and who work in France for French companies or international companies as Google, for example.
Right. And you teach them French. Like your school
We
is
teach them
for
French.
French.
We teach them French, yes. We teach them French, the French language and culture, because sometimes it's also about the culture. You've been here in Paris, so you saw that it might be. It depends on your own culture. When do you come from? But it can be a little bit challenging to find your place here in France.
Well, I want to talk about that in a minute. There's so many questions I want to ask you. In many forms and shape. I've always been very close. I'm Italian, so as you can tell
For
from
you, it was easier than for someone who would be American, for example.
right. And we've been taught French. My generation was taught French from elementary school, right? That was our second language. English
Before,
came very, yeah, English came very late in my life. I started studying English that I was 16, but it wasn't until I was 27 or 24, 25, that I fully delved into it. And I can even say, I've been in New York since 3 years and a half, and I feel that I didn't speak English before coming here. So it's languages are mysterious, and I kind of want to ask you, you. You mentioned this was your dream.
yeah.
What made it a dream? What was behind this dream?
I think I was always into languages. So since I was a kid, I liked it. And I didn't have so many occasions to learn. I learned English and my parents were both Polish teachers and literature teachers. So I have this background from my family. But when I studied linguistics, I wanted to study linguistics here in France. Well, it was about linguistics or biology and genetics. So I studied linguistics and
Very similar fields.
but well, there is something, it's a structure, it's something that you need to understand to have an information, right? It can be very, very similar sometimes from time to time. Languages have their own DNA too, so
Oh, what do you mean by that? This is interesting.
it's a structure. Well, it might be a structure, a vocabulary, words. Well, there is a system that everything there is there for a reason, like our genes, right?
Yesterday I went to an event with Deepak Chopra, which I assume you know. And he actually spoke about languages. He spoke about models. I mean, all the quantum physics and
Yes,
everything that
yes.
is around when basically the main point is always the difference between us and any other things, between humans and objects, is that we are aware of consciousness, and consciousness is what make the experience. And at one point he mentioned languages, because he said eventually the only thing is that we have different is languages, and but we could speak also without languages. So it was all fascinating, I'll say.
We can speak without languages, but often we speak even with mathematics. It's a language too. It's an artificial one, but still, it's about science. So it stays the same a little
So I
bit.
do have a provocative question, and then I would love to delve into stories. I mean, with the rise of AI effectively is assembling many large language models, and it's I don't even know the English word, but it's like the culmination of everything languages. And we could argue, I'm going to take it a little bit of extreme, right? Like we could argue that with all of these tools, do we even need to learn languages that are different from our own? Because I would envision a future where we're gonna have systems probably, directly in our glasses. Like I tried a new glass at CES this week that would show me the words directly on my glass. It was amazing. Like, what's your perspective as someone that work very deeply into this field? Like, do you feel that we will still need to learn languages to communicate with each other?
Does Mackenzie still hire consultants? So far, it's the same, right? Well, let's see. Let's go there and let's see. I would love to. Actually, I would love to speak any language without speaking it. I am pro technology person if it's done with intelligence, with human intelligence, and with a bit of regulation as well. But I think that it can. There is always, so far, there is always a risk with artificial intelligence. With is that it doesn't have all the references that we have. It doesn't know
Mm.
about ourselves, about the world we are talking about. So if we don't put everything, and it's not possible so far to put everything, without, even with this huge amount of data that it crunches, it's still not there. So one day maybe I would love to have the glasses you tried. I would love to have
Oh,
them.
they were pretty fascinating.
You,
I
you
mean,
said, maybe you saw also the AI that translates with video, with your face and with your voice, and that's
Oh, wow.
it's incredible. I will send you a link after our. It's incredible. So, but I couldn't so far. I couldn't try it still. So I will tell you when I will try it after I'm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that we're gonna see and experience things that will make our life easier in a way. What I also see is honestly the power of the brain.
Yes.
Because if we think about it, that our brain can learn so many things, for me, it's always okay. I see this with my daughters, and I mean, I see it also with me because I was born and raised in Sardinia, and they say the Sardinian
I
is
love Armenia. I
it's a language, and I've always been very quick in picking up languages myself. Now I don't speak 10 languages like many people, but I can survive and speak French. I can survive and speak Spanish. Again, I learned English very late, and I was able now to be fluent. And my daughters, they're super fast, and so my only preoccupation, let's say, with the AI applied to languages is I hope it won't make us a little bit lazy. You know what I mean? Because
Yes, yes, it might. It might be true, but let's do something. It depends on what you do with it. So I think that's the thing with ChatGPT and another tools that we have today. In linguistics, it's something that existed. We created it. When I was a student, we had already what we call artificial intelligence, but we had already tools, but we didn't use them with the same power and with the same amount of data, with the
yeah,
same big data that we huge thing that we have today. So
yeah, true. One question, Milena. So how long ago did you find the school?
yes, it was more than 6 years ago. 6 years
Oh, wow.
almost.
So how big it is now, the school?
Well, we are 12 French teachers and 3 English teachers, and we have also one teacher for Mandarin and Cantonese. And sometimes from time to time we have teachers, but it's really we don't have so many requests for that. But we have also teachers for Spanish, Italian, etc.
That's amazing. So you must be very busy managing all of these people.
Well, they manage themselves a little bit. I don't like to manage people, so we have guidelines, and if they respect them with a bit of training, they are everything rules. And so we see each other just to make a point, and it's not a top-down situation and way of managing people. They are
Mm.
freelancers, so they are independent.
Yeah, tell me more about that because I work in a corporation where people need to be managed in a way.
Oh, I know. I've been there. I've been there for
You've
almost.
been there. So what are the differences that you are observing?
Mm. When you give responsibility to people and when they feel responsible for themselves because it's their job, because they need to do accounting every month because they want to be independent. So it comes with also with some stuff like this. Well, when you give them this responsibility, they take it and they do, and you don't need to manage them. You need to collaborate with them. You need to to help them to manage situations, but not to manage them. And that's what I prefer.
I love your definition. Managing situations and not managing people, basically what you're saying.
Yes, managing situations, we can do it together. So it's not. What I hated in the corporate life was really this: you need to do this, you must do this because I say it, because
Mm.
I am your boss, I am the CEO, I am the guru of this company. I didn't like it, so I try not to reproduce it in my company. But
It's a very good
it's
spirit.
a small company, so it's easier to have this flat management, right?
Yeah. Was there any situation that you experienced either now in your company or in your previous career in, let's say, managing situations with others, but effectively when people were looking at you, when you were the leader of a situation? Was there any situation that when you think back, you're like, oh my God, that situation was really telling and it was so difficult?
Well, when I had to fire someone and I didn't want to, it wasn't the person, it wasn't my choice to fire this person. So I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. It was difficult, but I think that's the most difficult thing. That was a little bit longer, that just this period of separation with someone, with one of the members of the team. What was more difficult was sometimes that people didn't want to change. I heard one day, I heard in an event, in a French event, an American who said something that is very true about France, is that in the US it's more test and learn. In France it's maybe more, well, wait and see. And sometimes sometimes that's what I experienced in some of the company I worked for. Sometimes when you are in an old company, it's not a startup, well, things don't go as fast as they might go, actually.
What you just said, I can do a thousands of plus one, because that's exactly what I experienced. And I experienced it coming here to New York. Definitely the test and learn really permeates everything in life, and also what allows us to go faster with a lot of mistakes, to be honest. It does fit more my character and my, I'm a fast mover. I love change, and I love to experiment. So I'm definitely a test and learn. And that was very hard for me when I was in Paris, because the French teams were more, unless it's perfect, we're not going to move, or unless we know that it's going to work, with like very, very, very cautious. I want to go back to a minute to that experience when you said you had to fire someone that you didn't want to fire. The tech industry is in a very interesting moment right now. How did you manage that situation as a human? And I assume this was very difficult because it was going against your integrity.
Yes, I think that it was one of the points when I wanted to change my path also. So,
Can you expand a little bit?
um, well, you have sometimes you need to do things in the corporate life, and it was, well, it's the worst thing that happened. But I've been put in a lot of situations where I needed to shut up and do. So I didn't like it, and I was saying that not with the team, but I was trying to say it to my bosses. But it's not always easy, because there is a lot of work to do, and we don't want to hear any complaints. And when you're in the middle management, I was in the high middle management, but still not far enough maybe to be able to do, no, that's what I will do. I was trying, I was doing, I did a lot, but not every time. I couldn't do it every time. And it's sometimes about, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to stay because I still have things to do here? And sometimes in the companies, well, look what the tech companies are going through now. It's a difficult moment too. So these kind of situations happen all the time, because we don't have enough money, because we don't do enough, because we need to fire someone. So let's do.
Mm. I mean, I can totally see that, because eventually you're loyal to a bigger system. You're not loyal to yourself.
Exactly. It's about the health of the company. So even individuals sometimes, well, they should count, they should, but it's not as simple in bigger companies.
Hmm. And when you're running your company now, right, you do have a double responsibility, because on one side you have the responsibility towards the company, so the body of the company, but also you have the responsibility to yourself and to your students. How do you navigate this? Let's say, like, what are the principles and the values that you use to navigate? Because on one side, again, you're responsible also for the school, is your dream, and you might have tough decisions to take at times.
Yes, I had, and I'm having some of every day. Well, every day we have decisions to make, and we some of them are difficult, but I think that when you run a company, you can shape your company a little bit more. You never know, actually, when you are starting, you never know what will work, what people will buy. So in your offer, you try. And actually, I shaped my company in the aim to work with businesses because I love the corporate life as well. So, but I
Mm.
prefer to have it with a bit of more distance. So we still work with big companies, but here at school it works differently. We're like it's a small company, really. We are a few. There is a few of us. There are a few of us. So it's not difficult to to find the culture fit with new teachers, for example. It's much easier.
No, I understand. And I guess that at one point, like you have more freedom. What you said earlier, you said in a corporation, like if you're high enough in the ranks, you do have the power to shape it and take decisions and all of it. But then eventually, when you are middle management, it's more complicated. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it's
really
also
shaped and you need to fit. You need to fit. You are already in the system. Here, well,
yeah.
you build the system a little bit, not everything. You need to respect laws and you need to earn money. So finally, you are never independent, 100% independent. You depend on your clients, on people still, but it's a different relationship, and it fits more with who I am. Finally, I know that here
Hmm.
it's easier to say, oh no, I won't work with you because I don't like your company. And it's fine. I've never done that, but it's fine to do this. It's perfectly fine.
I like it, right? It's the difference between shaping and designing the system and fitting in a system that is already existing. You said this is who I am and this is what I do. So if you would have to say, who's Milena? Who are you?
Oh my God, I don't know. It's a
Well,
difficult.
this is 99 humans, and so we wanna know the human.
I'm I'm a human, and I have a new thing in my identity because I became French last year after 22 years in.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So now I can say that I'm Polish and French. It's the first time that I officially say that I'm French.
Oh well, welcome. It's a news on our show.
Yeah, it's
Why is this that important? Tell me, because
important. It wasn't. I did it after 22 years. So finally, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just a paper. But now that I have a kid and finally, I do everything in France since 22 years. I've been doing here my life. So happened here. So it's important to vote, to have rights as well. I participated to the economy of this country, and I'm still participating. So it's important.
listen, I want to get the American citizenship, and a lot of people were asking me why. And I lived in so many places. I lived in Dublin, in Paris, in Milan, and I was all over the place. And this is the first time in my life that I feel I'm going to stay here. And as you said, that I want to have rights. I want to participate. I want to vote. I want to shape it also for the future of my children. And being citizens of other places carry a lot of responsibilities. But also, what you said about fitting in the system, the same applies in fitting in a city or in a government. You need to be aligned with the values of that given environment.
Yeah, but as a Polish, I'm maybe more aligned with the French values than with the Polish ones. So it's also important. It's really a part of my identity today.
Yeah, which are the values that matter the most to you?
I think that it's freedom, to be free to do not whatever we cannot do whatever we want, never, but to have choices, always to have a choice.
I like to have choices. That's also why I love America. I moved here during COVID, and I mean the fact that I could go and have a walk in the park, whereas in Italy I couldn't, for me made like a huge difference. But I also like what you said is about choices. Our freedom ends where others people's freedom begin, and how can we be respectful and live all together eventually? As Deepak Chopra said yesterday, we're all in one. When we look at the quantum elements, everything is the same.
Exactly, exactly. There is a pattern. Maybe there is a pattern. There is a pattern. It had to be a difficult experience to come to the US during the COVID, right? Did you come during the lockdowns?
Yeah. We left that Italy was still in a lockdown. US was a lot milder lockdown wise, and also New York was empty.
Yeah.
And so we had the city all for ourselves. I actually like the only thing that I remember that as being tough for me was the work from home, but outside of the work from home, I actually enjoyed having such a wonderful place all for ourselves. It was a little bit of an adventure. Milena, what are you up next with your school, and what is your wish for this year? It's early in January. What are you manifesting for the school?
Well, for this year, I would like to develop the school and to shine a little bit more on the French training markets. So, which is the case more and more every year. And now we had a few new clients at the end of the year, which is great. So to develop it, but one day, maybe not this year, but in 3 years or 5 years, I would like to, when my kid will be a little bit older too, I would like to go back to the tech industry, maybe with by doing an application or something with languages still. So something that's where I can experience what I love. So the research, research in linguistics and tech, my tech experience as well.
I mean, I definitely see a lot of opportunity there. Applications that are the cracks between tech and languages. It's a big future. There's so much going on. I mean, again, I was at CES and there are so many startups. When we think about disabilities as well, how can we help people communicate when maybe they're impaired from a speech perspective, of hearing perspective, or visual? It's definitely an infinite space. How can people find you, Milena? If they want to get in contact with you, how they can find you?
LinkedIn would be the easiest way, I think, but they can also look for École Parisienne on Instagram or Facebook, or they can come to Paris and see me as well.
Oh my God, that would be the best, especially when you said it that elegantly, École Parisienne. I always ask one last question to our guest, which is, what is your word of advice to people listening to the show today? What would you recommend them?
Difficult. It's be curious, always, always. Never give up and be curious about stuff, about things, because curiosity allows you to go further, right? And to try things. So I think that's the most important thing.
So you do like the test and learn then of the Americans.
I love it. But so far, let's wait and see.
Right, let's not take too many risks. Well, Milena, thank you for coming on the 99 Humans show. It's been a pleasure, and I can see a lot of kindness in your heart and generosity. So keep going with your school.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was very nice to meet you.
Have a nice day. Bye, Milena.
Say bye. Bye, Nadia.